this is something that I've literally never seen anyone ever talk about on the internet. There's a fine line between sad lamps being an absolute game changer or a total waste of money. And so you'll find that when it comes to bright light therapy, timing is everything. Yep, this is the difference between your sad lamp basically being an expensive waste of money that you occasionally talk about when people come round. Hey, is that one of those sad lamps over there? Huh? Yeah. Is it any good? Versus being something that can completely transform your mood, energy, and productivity. So when we talk about timing, we can mean two specific things. The specific time of year that we should start using bright light therapy, and the exact time each day to switch it on. And we're going to talk about both of those things, but here's the simple answer that most people will tell you to do. When you notice that the mornings are getting darker and your energy levels are dropping, use a sad lamp for about 20 to 30 minutes within about 30 minutes of getting out of bed. But there are two big problems with that. This is just really crude advice, which isn't at all personalized to your situation. It doesn't take into account your actual life and how you fit this into your schedule. And number two, you see, we're not particularly good at recognizing when our mood and energy starts reducing. Because darkness is a difficult concept, and it's not black or white. Pun intended. It's a gradual change, but it's also biologically wired that as we get less and less morning light, we start gradually feeling less energy and worse mood. And as our mood worsens, a part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, which is involved in both self-awareness and planning ahead, starts reducing its usual activity. And so switching on a sad lamp only when we notice our energy levels taking a hit often means your focus and your productivity have already been affected for weeks, maybe even months. This is a reactive stance, and as a primary care doctor, this is where my old adage, prevention is better than cure, comes in, because ideally we want to be completely avoiding the low energy and low mood symptoms. And we can because it's predictable. Okay, so let's start with what time of day to use your lamp. So as a reminder, sad lamps are a morning therapy designed to be used once you're up and out of bed. They're meant to be used within 30 minutes of waking, and we think they work because they're basically emulating the amount of daylight that we would normally be exposed to about 30 minutes after a sunrise. Importantly, they're not designed to be an alarm clock. And if you want to know the difference between sunrise alarm clocks and sad lamps, you can check this video out that I made talking about the key differences. So you want to use a sad lamp around the time of your body's natural preference to wake up. This is basically a question of whether you're an early bird or a late riser. So if you're an early bird whose natural preference it is to wake up at 5 or 6 a.m. each day, you'll probably enjoy using your sad lamp at about this time. Whereas if you tend to be a late riser, opting to use it at about 9 a.m. or so might be totally reasonable. You probably have a natural intuition as to whether you are more of an early bird or a late riser. And if you're not sure, I'll link down to a tool that you can use to see exactly what you are. But there's a complicating factor, which is fitting it into the reality of real life. And so whether it's getting up for work, getting the kids ready, or taking the dog for a walk, we often have to respond to commitments that don't totally fall in line with our biological rhythms. And in these cases, you just need to figure out how much of your energy these morning tasks require. If it's taking the dog for a walk, you might not feel you need to use a sad lamp first. It's a relatively mindless activity, so you could just stick with that original waking time that you just calculated. But if it's needing to get a start on your working day, then you'll have to strike that balance between the time that your body wants to wake up versus the time you have to get up for work. So if your body would naturally want to get up for 9 a.m., but you sort of need to get up for 7 or 7:30 to get into work for 8, then using it at 8 or 8:30 might work for you. Now that you've got your specific time of day, which factors in your biology and your social commitments, this is where things get interesting. Because when in the year you should start using a sad lamp also depends on where in the world you live. The further away from the equator you are, generally the earlier you start to experience those short days and dark mornings. What you want to do is go online to a geo-specific sunrise and sunset graph. Type in the city that you live in and scroll down to find this graph. Find the time that you calculated earlier, the time that you calculated you should be using your sad lamp each morning, and hover over it with your mouse until you find the point at which civil twilight becomes daylight. This is the time of year specific to your location, your circumstances, and your biology that you stop getting the amount of natural daylight that you need to maintain wakefulness. And it's the exact same time of year that you should start using your sad lamp. If you want to find the rough time of year to stop using your sad lamp, just go to the spring months and find the exact same point where civilian twilight becomes daylight. Right, I hope that makes sense, because this is something that I've literally never seen anyone ever talk about on the internet. So if it's a bit new and confusing, don't worry, just go back and rewatch any bits that you're not sure of, or feel free to drop me a comment below and I would love to help. But as I hope you can see, this is why the common advice to just start using a sad lamp in winter is not only inaccurate, but it puts you at risk of having a significant proportion of the year when your performance is badly affected. So you might be thinking, is there any harm in being really proactive and using a sad lamp as early as possible? And unfortunately there is. So take a look at this video on why waking up early is actually killing your productivity. Or for another deep dive into the world of sad lamps, take a look at this playlist I've made. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!